So I feel bad because the past couple of breaks, I feel like I've just been raking my parents over the coals, and this break might make my parents feel some type of way. But Bert and I differ from everyone else in the studio in the sense that we read our DMs reluctantly sometimes. And after a break I did a couple of weeks ago, right before we went on vacation, it was Plead the 5th, and y'all really came at me swinging with some questions that you can say I asked for. I don't know if I necessarily asked for people to question why my parents loved my brother more. The wording seemed a little pointed.
You challenge. This is on you. You got what you asked for. You can't come down on them for the question.
You called the listeners' questions stupid.
Yes, you literally said, come after me.
I didn't say come after me. I'm just thinking about it.
You literally said, come after me.
It was facetious, Bert. Come after me is more of a term, a phrase, rather than like actual come at me.
Like backpedaling.
No. And I was trying to super serve the listeners. I mean, how many times can I rank the youth group from favorite to least favorite? I give you the same answer every week. I'm just thinking about those ratings tanking, and I'm like, let's give them something good.
I love how you say you're super serving the listeners, but these were literally questions the listeners asked and what they wanted to know.
Well, they should start listening to the segments because I've answered those questions before. They just phrase it a little differently.
I don't want you to put this uncomfortable thing on the listeners when you said, hey, make it uncomfortable for me.
Well, they made it uncomfortable in my DMs as well. It didn't just stop on air. So during our Plead the 5th segment, which is a segment where you guys try to come after me, and then when you don't come after me, I ask you to come after me, and then I get questions like, why did your parents love your brother more? And I have to answer why my parents loved my brother more, which is really fun to talk about on air. So after that segment, I was surprised at how much it struck a chord with a lot of the parents that were listening. I think I expected to read a lot of DMs from second favorite children being like, oh yeah, I felt the same way growing up. And I got a lot of DMs from parents, which I'm very grateful for. I love the rapport that I have with people in my DMs. So I really hope that you don't take this as like I'm coming down on you. But I do want to be honest about how it struck a chord with me, even if there were positive feelings associated with the relationship between DMing with you as well. But I got a lot of DMs from parents that were like, yeah, I noticed that I favor one child over the other. And I'm so appreciative that you talked about your experience because I don't want to have that effect on my child.
I think you nailed it when you said he was the easier child. Right?
He was the easier child. I can admit to that. And it's tough because you feel like it's your fault, growing up. But I was a kid. Like I was a child. You know what I mean? Like how are you supposed to come down on yourself when this is your first time living, your first time existing. But you also have to give your parents grace in the sense that like this is their first time being a parent too. Like this is their first rodeo as well. But when I was getting all those DMs, and I got quite a few, I probably got at least 10 or 11 from parents that admitted to me, and I'm so grateful for you feeling comfortable enough to share that with me and reflect on that. But I got a lot of DMs where they said, I have one child that I know that I don't speak highly of frequently, or I just have a harder time parenting them because they are more difficult. And they said that what I vocalized was what they were trying to avoid. So these are really, really self-aware parents. But admittedly, when I was reading them, as grateful as I was for the experience that they felt comfortable being vulnerable with me, there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, like it sucked seeing it and writing that that's something that parents actually experience. That even though I know my parents love me equally, it is frustrating to know that is an experience that people actually feel, that they have that favoritism, even if they're not going to admit it publicly to other people.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they're just going to admit it to people privately in their DMs, that you have children that you like more, you like less. And then it's not just in my head. I think that was a weird thing to experience on paper.
Well, you're a friend, Domino. I mean, jokingly, but not jokingly. From a standpoint of a parent, granted, I have an only child, so I can't do it from that. But from having a sibling, I feel like, yeah, your parents love you equally, but like you more or less depending on the day and what's going on. And you said Domino used to say that and used to tell his girls the rankings, be like, all right, this one's in the lead this week because she did XYZ. You need to pick up the slack.
He came on and talked about it.
Yeah, he did.
He's like, hey, don't get all bummed out. I mean, you could be in first next week, But this week, you're in second place right now.
Oh, I think that's a little bit different than maybe what I experienced and what these parents are experiencing, where to me, it wasn't like a week to week thing. Like my brother was the favorite this week or I was the favorite the next week. Like I was pretty consistently always the least favorite. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a little bit different than kind of being like, well, you got an A+ on your spelling test and you were really good at your recital and you were very well behaved at that dinner, rather than kind of constantly feeling like you're the second favorite.
Yeah. And as a parent, and I know I've explored this from both sides also. And like you said, our parents, it's the first time they're doing it. They're doing the best they can. But the ramifications of that also will hurt us later on in life when if we feel like we're not good enough when we're younger, we will feel like we are not good enough when we are older.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing to dive deep into that, because I think that really built a lot of the framework of how I live my life and probably why I got into this career field, like searching for exterior validation and respect from other people. Like if you don't feel like you're getting that inside the house or even with your peers, then you're going to go to social media or you're going to go to the radio to try and fill that void somehow.
I mean, something I talked about on the radio a long time ago. I do feel your pain to it a certain extent. My brother was the golden child. I mean, he's the Marine. He's the first responder. He got married first, had grandchildren first. Like it was a whole thing growing up too. And something I saw a psychologist was talking to a guy talking about how his sister's relationship was more complicated than his relationship with his parents. He's like, I find it so weird because we were both raised by the same people. And the psychologist stopped and he's like, no, you weren't. Like, if she was the first, she got a different set of parents than when you came around, because they have experience and you're getting them in different seasons of life. You're getting them in different seasons of their relationship. One might be coming in when you're financially struggling. Another might come in after they have, been more financially established. So if you think you're being raised by the same parents, you are not. Like siblings get different versions of their parents. Now, my question for you, I have an acquaintance, and it is, from my observations, painfully obvious she has a favorite by the way she speaks to one child compared to the way she speaks to another. Is this something where you just have to bite your tongue, or do you say something?
Close friend?
No, it's not a close friend.
I wouldn't say anything.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I would leave that.
I feel like it's looking at one kid and being like, man, you're going to need so much friggin' therapy.
I mean, I can relate in the sense that I was raised with two younger sisters, and I certainly believe that I was the child that was raised the hardest, and they were the hardest on me. I think a part of that is because I was the oldest, the only boy. I think it was a little different, but I always saw it as like positive, because I feel like it's why I'm so driven and so ambitious, because you were looking to get what you didn't feel like you got and your siblings did. And that's the only way I looked at it until I went to therapy and learned there was a lot of trauma behind it too.
I am so incredibly happy that my parents disliked us all equally.
The Bert Show.